Lenny Wilkens passed away today at the age of 88 years old. I like to read out some of his career achievements. He was actually a legendary NBA player, along with also being a legendary NBA coach. As a player, he made it to 9 NBA All Star games. He was actually the NBA All Star Game MVP in 1970. He actually led the league in assists back in 1970. And also he had his original jersey retired by the Seattle Supersonics. I'm not sure if the Thunder retired it, doubt it. And he was on the NBA 50 team and NBA 75th team. So he's been highly decorated as a player, as a coach. He led the Sonics to a championship in 1979 as a head coach. And in 1994, he was the NBA Coach of the Year. He was actually four-time NBA All-Star Game head coach back in 1979, 1980, 1989, 1994. And on top of that, at one point in time, he was once the all-time most winningest coach ever in NBA history. This happened way back in 1995 when he was a coach of the Atlanta Hawks. And he passed Red Auerbach by winning 939 games back on January 6, 1995. So at the time, he had the record. Obviously, he got passed up later on. Despite that, he ranks third all-time in wins as a NBA coach. So he has a total of 1,332 games won as a coach, which is third all-time. So not too shabby. I have to say, I don't remember Lenny Wilkens, the player. He was way ahead of my time. I have no memory of him. I didn't even exist when he was a player. But I do remember him the most from the 90s. That's when I was growing up watching basketball. I remember him primarily as a coach of the Atlanta Hawks. That was the team that he coached I remember the most because it coincided with my childhood and teenage years. So that's where all my memories of Lenny comes from in that regard. That Hawks team he coached, it was interesting that they had some really good teams. Not teams I would say that were contenders, but really good. For example, his first year with the Atlanta Hawks, he was able to lead them to 57 wins, which was a franchise record at the time. They were number one in the Eastern Conference. I think what really derailed them that year was when their management, for some weird reason, decided to trade Dominique Wilkins for Danny Manning. That to me was like one of the dumbest trades. That didn't make sense at the time and still doesn't. And when you reflect on it, they should have kept Dominique Wilkins. And maybe if they kept him, they had a shot of going to the NBA Finals. But it was very evident without Wilkins, they were not able to take advantage of being the number one seed. They ended up losing to Indiana in the second round, which was a huge upset at that time. And after that, they retooled their team. They had some good teams, which featured Steve Smith, Christian Laettner, Dikembe Mutombo, Mookie Blaylock. Those teams, they were good teams, but I wouldn't say great teams. They went to the playoffs quite a few times with Lenny as their coach, but nothing really stood out to me about them. I just remember back then, one of the knocks on Lenny was his team's benches were not that good, that he didn't develop the bench or was not good at developing young players. He was one of those guys that just trusted veterans fully and hardly gave minutes to young players back then, at least when I was watching the Hawks. I remember that very clearly. So those teams didn't do much. And when I look at Lenny, to me, like, he always gave me the vibe of just being a good coach, not a great coach. I know some people are going to say, like, well, how could he have won all his games if he wasn't a great coach? But if you look at his winning percentage, it's like only 53% all time. Granted, he won 1,332 games, but he lost 1,155 games. So he was only slightly above 500 as a coach. I think the best guy to compare him to is like Doc Rivers, in the sense that Doc Rivers' career winning percentage is very similar to Lenny Wilkens. It's like only slightly above 500. Doc coasts off of that 2008 Celtics championship, much like I felt Lenny Wilkens coasted off of his only one championship as a coach from the 79 Sonics team. But his teams are just only always slightly above average, nothing spectacular. And I was going to say the other memorable place he coached in my eyes was the Toronto Raptors during the early 2000s. I remember him coaching a young Vince Carter. They had that one great run during the playoffs underneath him when they got out of the first round and ended up losing to the 76ers in 7 games. That series was very close. I think they lost that game 7 barely. Vince Carter missed I think a three that would have won the game, and had that came in, they possibly could have gone all the way to the finals. Just that's how good that team was. But after that season, they never really found that magic again, and they pretty much went back into mediocrity. And after that, his final stop was with the Knicks. He coached them for like a year and a half, and then actually only a year. He became their coach in January 2004 and quit in January of 2005. So yeah, that was just like the final stop of his career, and that was it. But he had a solid run as a coach, a 20-something year run where he was able to, coach above 500 basketball, got one championship, and he was able to get into Hall of Fame both as a coach and NBA player. So he had, in retrospect, a great basketball life as a player and as a coach. But I don't have anything else really to say about him, to be honest.